the Mufti. He is an asir. He's the captive of the one who's asking him the question. If any one of you were to call the Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, and you say, Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, you know Mufti Menk, Mufti Ismail Menk, he this, he that, the Sheikh will give you a fatwa based on that. So you basically got from him a fatwa, like that. When they used to do that to Al-Albani would say to him, who are you? Where you coming from? What's your name? What's your father's name? Where were you born at? And when the person gave him more information, he would say to him, look, I advise you to get beneficial knowledge. Don't call me with this. During this time, the Sheikh has to defend the haqq, has to defend the religion. So he says, Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, Mufti Menk is this, Mufti Menk is that. Now someone comes to you and says, Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas said Mufti Menk is this and that. Do you have to take that, ya akhi? Just because Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas said it? No, from what we learned in our religion, and from what we learned from Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, we don't make that type of taqleed of people. Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas, Abu Usam al-Kabir, he has to bring the dalil. And it is not a dalil that a person studied in the madrasa of Deoband. It's not dalil that the person's father is Deobandi. It's not dalil that the person's father is Hanafi. What are you talking about? Every Hanafi can't be Salafi? What are you talking about? Hanafi can't be giving dawah to the Sunnah? I don't know the dalil, the details of that individual, but the point is, you and me. The money, the blood, and the honor of a Muslim is haram, sacred. Sacred. So if someone wants to come and talk about his honor and say he's a mubtadi', you make sure that there's clear dalil facing you. What you don't know about, you're not responsible. So it's the responsibility of the person who's claiming this individual's off of the sunnah. You bring the dalil so I can see it. It's Hanafi. What are you talking about? Imam Abu Ja'far al-Tahawi was Hanafi. What are you talking about? Hanafi is not synonymous to being off of the sunnah. Whereas I heard that Mufti Menk said that he was not Salafi. So what do you say about that? Well, that kalam of Mufti Menk, I never heard it personally. I never heard it. But as I said to you, what I did hear with my own ears, number one was dawah of the Quran and the Sunnah, the dawah of a Tawheed, the dawah of holding on to the Sunnah. I heard with my own ears in many of those talks that he has given the importance of following the way of the people of the past, the people of who were with the companions and so on. I heard that kalam. So now, if there is some kalam out there where he said, I'm not Salafi, I'm not Deobandi, I'm not Brewi. Okay, why don't we highlight that he said, I'm not Brewi, I'm not Deobandi? Why do we just highlight, I'm not Salafi? I said, alhamdulillah, he said, I'm not Brewi, I'm not Deobandi. He made al-bara from them. So what I'm going to do, is, I'm going to take that kalam, I'm not Salafi, and superimpose it on what I heard his dawah was. And I'm going to assume that the brother said that because of his environment. And Allah knows best. I may be wrong, I may be right.
Let me explain something. It's not an issue of Wahhabi, non-Wahhabi, what people have been here for years on end. It's an issue of intolerance. It's an issue of extremism on all parties. I believe every ustaz makes mistakes, without exception. Take the good from all of them and leave the bad. When someone preaches hatred against another, discount it, and if you have the opportunity, go to them and tell them, please, don't talk about other people. I want to ask you a question, and I'm going to stand for this. You know who I am, right? I'm a brother of yours in faith. Have you ever heard me talk bad about another person? MashaAllah. MashaAllah. The innocent have borne witness. Do you agree? Why? I have so much of goodness to share with the world that I don't have time to worry about others. Come on, come on. Those who talk about others don't have something to present themselves. I'm busy doing my work. So many people send me messages. Oh, someone called you a Wahhabi. Someone called you a Sufi. Someone said you're a Salafi. Someone said you're a Deobandi. Someone said you're a Barelvi. Some of these names I don't even know what they mean, to be honest with you. I was waiting for the day they said someone called you a chocolate man, because that's true, you know. But all these names, for me, I say, hey, look, I know what I am. I'm a Muslim, and I'm trying to spread a good message amongst all groups. Let me carry on doing my work. The minute I turn to fight them, I become a fighter. I cause a bigger problem. And now who's going to do this good work? Because my energy, like I said earlier, all the energies are now being utilized, waste of resources, to do something where it's going to be less beneficial, in fact destructive. So please do yourself a favor. When you hear labeling, you need to be more intelligent than the label. You need to rise above it and tell yourself, whatever good is coming from this person, I will take it. Whatever bad is coming, I will discount it. The reason is, even if you belong to one group, it does not mean the ustazas of your group, everything they say is right. They will also say wrong things. You will have to pick it up.
MashaAllah, my brother, if you ask people regarding the Eid al-Adha, they will deny that the king decrees it. They will deny that. And we will continue saying, no, he does. So because we have a conflict, I have one policy. Have your Eid today, have it tomorrow, have it the third day, or don't have it. But don't fight. That's my policy. Because for me, you'll never ever be able to bring the globe on one day. And we need to be mature about it. You have Eid, some want to follow this country, the other country, some don't want to do it, some want to... Let them have it their way. Brother, Eid Mubarak to you. You do it today, Eid Mubarak. You do it tomorrow, Eid Mubarak. I'm happy I've got 2 Eids. You do it the third day, I'm happy I've got a third day. Alhamdulillah. I'm excited. You're South African, mashallah. The sale at my shop will extend 3 days, inshallah. So we look at it from a positive way. I am fed up of the fact that people are fighting over these things. To be honest with you, it's a blessed day. Shaitan comes to us and makes us fight. Sisters, brothers, whatever convinces you, do it that way. But remember, something else might have convinced someone else. Let them do it their way. It doesn't mean if it's not my way. This guy, he's following Saudi. He's not a proper Muslim. This guy is following this. He's not a proper... Relax. Those energies can be used in a more beautiful way. Come out and say, brother, Eid Mubarak. I'll be having Eid tomorrow, but have a blessed day. And here's some sweet dishes. Don't forget to give me mine tomorrow, inshallah.
When I said some people can listen to Anwar al-Awlaki, I didn't say anybody here. I was asked that question by my students who I knew. I know Nuruddin. I know Adwi. I know Sharif. I know Ahmed. I know all of my students, Zaid. I know them. It was my students who asked me, hey, what about Mufti Menk? What about Mufti Menk? I said what I said at that time. That brothers talks to the Sunnah. And now I say, I wish that brother would stop trying to please everybody. Because you can't please everybody. When you're asked, what's the right way? Is it this Jamaat, that Jamaat, this, that? You have to say following the companions. You don't have to call it Salafi if you don't want. But don't say Brawiism, Deobandism, Ikhwaniyya, everything is. Don't say that. If you keep trying to please everybody, it's going to be a problem. So there's a text going around right now. What about the ikhtilaf on the day of the Eid? Mufti Menk, our brother, said, I don't care. If you do it one day and then they do it 2 days after, or you do it 3 days after, or you don't do it at all. It's okay, I don't care. Just don't fight. No. We can't talk like that. So the first kalam was to my students who have the ability to make the distinction. One of them wants to listen to the talk about the stories of the prophets. So if they hear something in that, they can pick it up, because I know them. Whereas this kalam after jihad, after he was arrested, my students know all of that is batil. That stuff is dangerous. So therefore I say, itlaqan, open-ended, open, no istithna. That brother, you shouldn't listen to Anwar al-Awlaki, and you shouldn't be caught with his CDs in your house, because it's a shubha and you'll get in trouble. So avoid it. And I'm not saying this because I have some personal axe to grind against that brother. I'm saying it because we listened to what that brother said. We heard what that brother said, and we know what that brother is saying.
Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, brothers and sisters, he said, and Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he quoted this: إذا سكت أنا وسكت أنت متى يعرف الجاهل الصحيح من السقيم. If I'm quiet and you're quiet as well, how are the people going to differentiate between the ignorant individual and also the one who's upon clarity, the one that's upon goodness? If everyone decides to keep quiet now, how are the people going to know? So we have the issues of refutations. How do we go about doing it? You know, brothers and sisters, many people have come up to me and they've asked me about Mufti Menk and whether we should take knowledge from him and things like that. And when they actually came and asked me this, they would say things like, Mufti Menk, he doesn't quote the Tawheed. So time and time again I told these brothers, guys, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, وَالْكَلَامُ فِي النَّاسِ يَجِبُ أَنْ يَكُونَ بِعِلْمٍ وَعَدْلٍ لَا بِجَهْلٍ وَظُلْمٍ كَحَالِ أَهْلِ الْبِدَعِ. When speaking about the people, it should be done with two things: knowledge and being fair. You need to be just in your speech, and not with ignorance and oppression, like the people of innovation do. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said this. Naam. So when we speak about others, it needs to be done with these two things: knowledge and adl, justice. So time and time again I told these brothers, guys, Mufti Menk has videos on YouTube where he's calling to Tawheed, and I would send them these videos. Then they would come up to me, they would say to me, he doesn't warn against bid'ah, he doesn't warn against innovation. And again I would say to them, guys, there's videos on YouTube where he's clarifying the danger of innovation and things like that. So for us to try and score brownie points against Mufti Menk and try to get anything to maybe criticize him with is totally wrong. This is not part of our manhaj. We don't just start nitpicking and looking for things to just criticize a person with in order to take him off the scene. This is not something our Quran has told us to do. Rather, he said to us, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَى لَا تَعْدِلُوا اِعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى. Don't allow the hatred you might have for a people to prevent you from being just in your speech. Allah said also, وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعْدِلُوا, and when you speak, be just. So we can't do this. It's not something that our Sharia allows, even against the kafir. So I hope we understand that. So there would be times I would defend Mufti Menk from these kind of allegations against him, because we just can't say these kind of things about him when the reality of the matter says otherwise. But now, after hearing this speech from Mufti Menk and the fact that I might be criticizing it, it doesn't necessarily or necessitate that I might see a certain person to be a deviant or misguided individual. So brothers and sisters, there was two speeches or two statements that he mentioned that was, I feel, is very, very dangerous. The first one, when he stands up and he says to the people, guys, have you ever heard me speaking bad about others? Okay, that's a very general, ambiguous statement. If it means backbiting, then even our Sharia tells us not to backbite one another. If it's pertaining speaking badly about other deviant sects, and you can see from the siyaq of the kalam the context of where he said that, he was speaking about the sects that he was asked about, Salafi, Wahhabi, then it is not something to be proud of. It is not something to maybe mention to the people in a way that is a praiseworthy attribute or characteristic. Because there would be times when even the Prophet ﷺ, he criticized certain groups. The second thing that was mentioned in that clip of Mufti Menk, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him saying, take the good from the people and leave the bad. Every ustad has mistakes. Take the good and leave the bad. The type of mistakes that we can tolerate or not, I'm going to make this inshallah ta'ala into another video, because that requires research and a more detailed explanation. When a person falls into a mistake when it comes to the usul and when it comes to the furu' or al-israr ala al-furu' ala mukhalafat al-furu', all of that we're going to come on to that inshallah ta'ala in another video where I'm going to explain this issue independently. But that statement, brother and sister, wallahi, which was more worse than the first one, and it really, really hurt me, because people are now going to go to every Dom, Dick and Harry and take knowledge from him. They're going to, as it was mentioned, take the good and leave the bad, which I totally think is very hard to actually put into application. And I'll tell you why. An ignorant person who hasn't learned the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he doesn't know his basics. You take him to a person now who inside is hiding his ISIS beliefs or his extreme beliefs. A lot of these guys who promote ISIS, they're not going to quote to you fabricated a hadith. They bring you verses from the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Allah Azza wa Jalla says in verse number kada wa kada. They're going to bring you verses from the Quran. But as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, he told us, يَقُولُونَ مِنْ خَيْرِ قَوْلِ الْبَرِيَّةِ لَا يُجَاوِزْ حَنَاجِرُهُم. They say to you the best speeches, the best of the speeches. They'll bring you ayat from the Quran, they'll bring you hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it doesn't go past their necks. Yani they use these ayat, but it's not done in its proper place. I can bring you so many ayat and make you believe something, but it has been taken out of context.
It is very unfortunate to see those who are on the front line of da'wah and encountering a lot of attacks from non-Muslims and the enemies of Islam, meanwhile are being attacked and labeled by Muslims who are doing jihad with the keyboard in the comfort of their bedrooms while drinking their coffee and cappuccino, labeling this da'iyah and this sheikh as a munafiq and as a rebellious and as an innovator. I do not know about them but every good. And every time we meet, alhamdulillah, we discuss. Once we met Dr. Zakir Naik and Sheikh Asim and Mufti Menk and all of us, bunch of, dua. I'm not saying scholars, we're not scholars. We're not even up to the level of طلاب العلم or seekers of knowledge, but we're trying. We're doing our best. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم said بلغوا عني ولو آية, and in Surah فصلت Allah the Almighty said ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين. Dr. Zakir Naik is a physician by profession, and financially he's making very decent. So he's taken this da'wah as a way to take him to paradise. By the end, he's a human being. He's doing his best and he's accepting the advices as far as I know. Sincerely, this is my testimony before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What is your aim? Is your aim to teach the truth? If it is, well, say the truth. Is your aim to refute falsehood? Well, if it is, then refute the falsehood in a respectful way. The reason why the public does not like to listen to people who refute others in a derogatory way is because it becomes too cheap. It becomes too low. Remember, when a person's made a mistake, 5 mistakes, 10 mistakes, a few mistakes, those are some mistakes. Our intention should be to try and correct them by presenting the truth in a very, very palatable way, in a very attractive way. Because the Quran speaks to us saying, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah wal maw'izati al hasana wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." The Quran says al-maw'izat al-hasana, and then the Quran says wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan. And if you're going to be having this discussion, to and from, make sure that it is on the highest form of goodness, the best, al-ahsan, the best. You don't have to start belittling people. So this piece of advice is for myself, for other scholars and students of knowledge in particular, and then for the rest of the public, to say, please, we're allowed to refute indeed, but do so respectfully. There's no even need to name people. Remember that. Because you should refute, you should present the truth, but present it in a positive way. You can say, look, there's this opinion, and this is why I disagree with it, and this is the evidence against it. People will listen to you, but the minute you start taking names, this guy's like this and that guy's like that, I think you do a disservice to the deen more than anything else. And you actually don't end up correcting as many as you would have liked. And we're all here to learn from each other, to correct each other, to be able to love each other for the sake of Allah. I want goodness for you, and you should want goodness for me. If I believe you're gone wrong, I'm going to correct you in a beautiful way, or I'll pray for you at least. I might make a common video perhaps, but I'm not going to become low and cheap and start pointing at people where I lose the path. It becomes a personal battle rather than serving the deen. And this is something that people are actually failing regarding. May Allah make it easy for all of us. Love you all.